علمیه that I explained before, الحکمة النظریه which is theoretical or speculative philosophy which includes metaphysics and epistemology, and the practical philosophy or الحکمة العملیه, it includes akhlaq or ethics, morality. So whatever is about morality and rules and values goes under the topic of philosophy. But don't forget that this categorization and these kind of topics is from the time of Aristotle. From the time of Aristotle until maybe Middle Ages or Dark Ages, whatever you call, we have this kind of categorization, and it was accepted by most of the scholars, even inside Islam or outside Islam, in Europe, in Christianity. But after Dark Ages, after Renaissance and other changes in Europe, they narrow, the scholars narrow the scope of philosophy and say, okay, they take out from philosophy the ethics and even epistemology and other parts of the, even whatever it talks about nafs and soul. They call this psychology. They don't call philosophy. But in the time of, for example, Ibn Sina or Farabi or Mullah Sadra or other philosopher, whatever you see today in psychology, you see in philosophy. So one part of philosophy in the time of Ibn Sina is psychology, is about nafs. One part of philosophy in the time of Ibn Sina is about ilm and ma'rifatul ilm, which is epistemology. But today, they divided from philosophy. They set up a specific philosophy for epistemology, and so on. So in the time of, from the time of Aristotle until the Islamic philosophy, and even last 2-3 centuries ago, you can find all these branches of knowledge and science inside philosophy. But recently, there are several divisions, there are several branches that we don't call philosophy, we call another parts of, even some parts, some kinds of psychology, some kinds of sociology, some kinds of even physics, some parts of physical discussion and physics you can find in philosophy, in old philosophy. But in modern philosophy, no. They have divided all this and take out from philosophy, and they set up new branches for these kind of sciences. Now, major schools, I think very important this to know if we want to know the philosophy, Islamic philosophy today. We have to be very familiar with these three major branches of philosophy in Islam, which we call al-Masha'iyun, al-Ishraqiyun, al-Hikmatul Muta'aliyah. So today, when we talk about Islamic philosophy, we are talking about these three major branches and schools in Islam. First branch is peripatetic. So you may have some problem in the pronunciation of this word. Peripatetic, which is Masha'un. Okay, forget about the title, and you can continue from the first line. Major schools.
Okay, Aristotelian philosophy, or the peripatetic school.
Very good.
Mashasha was mainly accepted and developed by Al-Farabi, 1950 AD, as the second teacher, Aristotle being the first, and followed by Ibn Sina, 1980 through 1037, who is commonly known in English by his Latinized name Avicenna. In the Islamic Golden Age, due to Ibn Sina's successful reconciliation between Aristotelianism and Neoplatonism, along with Kalam, Avicennaism eventually became the leading school of Islamic philosophy by the 12th century. Avicenna has become a central authority on philosophy by then, and several scholars in the 12th century commented on his strong influence at the time. Abyssinianism was also influential in medieval Europe, particularly his doctrines on the nature of the soul and his existence essence distinction, along with the debates and censure that they raised in scholastic Europe. This was particularly the case in Paris, where Abyssinianism was later prescribed in 1210. Nevertheless, his psychology and theory of knowledge influenced William of Albrecht and Albertus Magnus, and his metaphysics had an impact on the thoughts of Thomas Aquinas.
Actually, if you want to pronounce Thomas Aquinas, it is not Aquinas. Aquinas, as you want to. He's a very famous figure in Christian philosophy and Christian theology. After Augustine, we have Augustine or Augustine. We have Aquinas, which is very important. Anyway, yes.
Abyssinia is also Abyssinia. Is it the same or different?
Yes. Abyssinia in European language or European pronunciation is Abyssinia. Averroes is Ibn Rushd. Abyssinia is Ibn Sina. So you may find Abyssinia in many historical books about philosophy. You can find under the name Abyssinia, not Ibn Sina. So if you find Abyssinia, you will find about this philosophy. Okay, you see, al-falsafatu al-masha'un. First of all, why they call this al-masha'un? And where is it from, this title? Al-masha'un has a very interesting background and history. Actually, al-falsafatu al-masha'un is the title of philosophy of Aristotle. So the head and the founder of al-falsafatu al-masha'un is Aristotle himself. And why they call this al-masha? Masha comes from mashi. It's an Arabic word. Mashi means to walk. And it is mentioned in the history that Aristotle himself, when he is teaching, he used to teach his students, he used to walk. There was a garden, beautiful garden in Greece at that time. And Aristotle was really a wise man, Hakim. And in the very beginning, and there was a sign on the gate, on the top of the gate of that garden, that there was a big sign. It was written that whoever wants to enter this garden should know mathematics. If you don't know mathematics, don't enter. So pre-assumption or the initial test or whatever you call for entering the garden of philosophy and hikmah is mathematics. And it's true. It is true. Even today in Howze, Seminary, all this, if somebody wants to know philosophy, first they have to take some courses in mathematics. So mathematics is very important. Mathematics is the main role, main rule, and main part of logic and philosophy. And Aristotle used to walk with his students. He has a few students, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5. And if 1 or 2 are absent all the times, so it becomes only 3 or 2. So don't worry. Just he used to walk, Aristotle, with his students and talking about philosophy and all these things. So they call his philosophy al-falsafatu al-masha'iyah, which is with walking. And then in English is a peripatetic philosophy. In Islam, the first philosophy which came into